Hey, how are you?
I'm healthy and fair. I'm also, I grew up in Newark, Memorial Class of '05. So I'm excited to see some new names popping up in the community. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to see so I'm glad you can see it.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
I think you are on mute, Sandy.
I am. Sorry about that. Oh, we're good to go now.
Hi, Sandy and it's Naz. Oh, wait, see if it's next audio.
I can't hear you very well.
Oh, you can. Hold on. Let me turn my Bluetooth off.
I know I'm a little early. Are you ready for me?
Oh yeah, we're gonna start probably around 6:05. I have a couple announcements to make.
There you go.
Now? Okay, wonderful. So yes, so I will, normally I wait until about 6:05 for everyone to get into the meeting. I have about 5 minutes of club business and housekeeping to do. And then we'll go right into it. All the city council candidates from the 3 cities will be in one forum together from about 6:10 to 7:05. And then we're going to do the Union City mayors and then the Fremont mayors at the end. So you're more than welcome to stay for the whole thing. You're also more than welcome to leave right after the first part of the meeting when we do the council candidates.
Okay. And do you have a list of prepared questions you were going to be addressing?
So the thing that candidates really like about us is we're pretty freestyle. We're the fun progressives. And
oh, yay. Okay.
So we try to keep it just real easy going, you know, because there's a lot of candidates, I will put like about 90 seconds per answer. So, but most
Sure.
candidates feel like that's enough time to address it. And, you know, we kind of like to let one topic lead to another. So I pretty much kind of like more moderate a conversation, but we do have a set list of questions that we go with to get everyone warmed up. And I always encourage people to put their questions into the chat and we try to address those as well. So anyways, if you guys will excuse me, and again, a lot of you are new, so thanks for coming. And I'm just gonna go make myself another drink. This is kind of like last call if anyone doesn't have their drink.
All right, I'm gonna go get my water.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Did you get my name on there as Fremont Mayor?
I didn't, because I didn't send out another reminder, but you will be announced. Don't worry.
Wait, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Let me get everyone admitted. Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna cook dinner, go into, what is the word? Hidden mode.
Send some of the food this way, Vinny.
Well,
Are you doing delivery?
I need some dinner. I'm gonna let you do the talking tonight.
Oh,
I'll
no. Okay.
see your kitty, Carol.
That's Mango. Everybody knows him from across the country now because my U.S. Mayor's Conference meetings, he comes tromping across the Metropolitan Transportation, ACTC, City Council meetings. He's been across the screen on all the meetings. He runs the place, obviously.
I am so glad you could join us, Carol. I have no idea what happened to that email. I went back and checked, and to the best of my knowledge, I spelt your name correctly. But I remember when I was sending the invitations, I actually had to reach out to our mutual friend, Melissa, who's on your human relations commission.
Right.
Because I was like, you have Mayor Carol's email? And she came through. So
yeah, and you know, the truth is, I did go back and look and I could not find it at all, but I was afraid that I may have inadvertently deleted because I get so many junk emails once I start hitting.
Tell me.
Yeah, I'm on a roll and sometimes I'll hit something then say, oh wait, let me look and see what that was.
I'm the exact same way, especially when people send things, if I've never met them and they send it with their personal name, and
yeah,
I get crazy. But yeah, you visited with us before, so I was like, gosh, I didn't like turn her off or anything.
No, I remember because I went over to the little place in Irvington.
Yeah.
Irvington High School.
God willing, it will be there when we're all ready to meet in person again.
Oh, I hope so. This pandemic is just forcing so many businesses out that it's sick.
I'm telling you, I work on Whipple across the street from Union Landing, and we used to go have lunch in Whipple and Union Landing every day. And now, you know, like the sushi boat is not been opened. I'm very upset about that. That was my favorite sushi place. And I will tell you what I do like though is that whole parking or driveway area from the movie theater across Fuddruckers got closed, and they set up outdoor seating.
Right.
You just make it like that all the time.
I
And
really
a big promenade where people can eat and stuff, because it's been so nice, the places that are serving.
I know. I like that. That's much friendlier atmosphere, definitely.
And it's like more walkable. I'm not like terrified of someone flying over those speed bumps and, you know, assassinating me with their car.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, as you know, we added some more cement to give it an even wider walkway, which at the time was for walking, but it's worked out nicely for the dining part of it.
But yes, the pandemic's been very hard and on local businesses, and I've been very sad to see them closed. Many of the ones that I love closed down. So hopefully we're almost done with this now, and we'll be able to have our Christmas party back at our special pizza place.
So there you go. That would be nice.
My Christmas miracle wish.
It will be a miracle, it seems, with the way things are going.
It will. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. A lot of people are in here already, so I'll just start giving some introduction. We are the Fun Progressives. We all met, our founding group met in 2015 when we organized a local campaigning group for Bernie Sanders. And after the primary, when Bernie did not win, we had all something amazing that never happens in organizing groups happened, which is that we all ended up really getting along and wanting to continue our work at the local level. And we ended up finding out that we had some really great progressive allies. And so we have now been around. We are celebrating our 4th year. We had our 4-year anniversary in July, and we're really proud to have a lot of our local popular progressive politicians being members of this club. And we've also probably spit out more new candidates from our club than I think any other political group thus far. We have a lot of people in our club who are running for school board or running for Ohlone trustee or running for, you know, office, just doing it. So we love that. Some housekeeping. It's 6:05 for my members. I have already set up the email with the ballots. It is scheduled to go out at 8 p.m. tonight. pay your dues. I have some regulars on this call who have not paid their dues yet. Feel free to private chat me when the meeting gets going if you're not sure if you need to. I need to tag you as a 2020 member before the end of this meeting at 8 p.m. so that you will receive your ballot. If at 8 p.m. you do not get a ballot for some reason, please reach out to me. Rennie and I have gotten a very good system going of keeping track of attendance and dues, and getting everything through PayPal has been helpful. So we're pretty on top of it, but I will admit pretty much every ballot, election, endorsement season, someone feels like they slipped through the cracks, and I'm very amiable to working with you. So, you know, just reach out. But with that being said, at the end of this meeting, I will be kicking everybody out who is not a member, or I mean, I guess you can stay, but we're gonna have some time, because normally we always get time, the membership, to discuss the races and share their thoughts with each other and kind of just have open discussion. When we meet in person, we don't really tell people to leave. So I guess if you're not a voting member, you're still more than welcome to stay in the session. But when we're discussing your particular race, I will put you into the waiting room. And potentially, if you have like your campaign manager or something, I reserve the right to also put them in the waiting room, because as a campaign manager, I know all the tricks. So that is my housekeeping for my membership. And with that being said, we will have the ballots due by Tuesday at 10 p.m. So that's about a full 48 hours to make our decisions. I have all of our previous meetings from April, I think definitely from May forward, up on YouTube. So if you have missed meetings, or you want to go back and review information, because we do have some very big races coming up that we're endorsing, all of our forums are up on our YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and you can search Fun Progressives California, or you can go into the newsletter, and on the very bottom, there's a bar that has our YouTube. I'm also going to put it in the chat once I don't have to moderate this meeting anymore. I'll get all the links up in the chat. Okay. So I went over this. Pay your dues. The ballots are going out at 8 p.m. We have a YouTube link. If you can't pay through PayPal, you can Venmo me, Zelle me, Cash App me. I have all the apps. We can work it out, you guys. And yes, we're going to have wrap up tonight. So after the meeting, if you want to stick around and talk about the races ahead of filling out your endorsement ballot, I'm going to give us about half an hour to do that. So I'll kind of lead an organized discussion where everyone can share their thoughts. And with that being said, let's get started.
Can I ask one logistical question? So
Yes, absolutely.
I just paid the dues last time, but this is only my second meeting. Do you have to be a part of 3 meetings? And I will be. Okay.
You have to be a part. So you won't be able to get in on this ballot, but if you come next month, so that's another quick thing I'll announce. Next month in September, we always endorse, we have a conversation and we do our endorsements of the propositions. These tend to be, if you guys ever want to see what progressives disagree over, come to the propositions meeting, because we've always had probably some of our most heated discussions talking about the propositions. But you'll be able to vote on that ballot, because that will have been your 3rd meeting. But yes, we do have attendance requirements. I have gotten paid dues from quite a few people that are new and will not be in on this round of ballots, but you will qualify for our endorsement ballot. And in October, if we do any last minute endorsements, if any candidates come forward asking for an endorsement, then you would qualify for that as well. So that's pretty much how it goes down here at Fun Progressives. And then of course, in December, we always have a little Christmas party and whatnot. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do in November yet, because it's going to be definitely after the election. So it's either a victory party or a condolences party. We'll find out. So with that being said, I want to introduce everybody. Let me get into the right email. Does anybody else have any quick announcements before we get started?
No announcement, but question.
Okay. Go ahead, Sarbjit.
Are we going to have the joint session with all the council candidates and the mayor, or it will be different at the different times?
Oh, so yes. So the council candidates will all be going together from 6 to 7 p.m. in a pool. I believe there's only 5 of you right now with us. And then from about 7:10 to 7:30, 7:35, we're going to do the Union City mayoral candidates. And then we're going to close the night with the Fremont candidates.
Thank you.
So that's our agenda tonight. Not a
so
problem.
I have some time. We still have,
a little bit of time.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to introduce our candidates. Hopefully they are all here. I don't see. Okay, Raj Salwan from Fremont District 5 is here. Sandra Holder Grayson from Union City District 1. Jason Miguel for Newark, which is at large, and Tehran Singh from Newark, which is also at large. Dolev Gandler is also supposed to be joining us. I don't see him in the chat right now, though. So if he pops in a little late, I'll throw him in with you guys. So I'm gonna call on you, and you can give a 90-second opening statement, and then after all your opening statements, we'll get into some questions. And Sandy, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I decided to run for city council because I want to do more to help Union City come together as a community. I'd like to see some positive change and collaboration, and we can accomplish so much more in Union City if we can work together and form positive relationships. I'm a 35-year resident. I've raised my children here. I'm a proud Democrat, and I've been a human relations chair for 2 terms. Being on the council would give me a way to give back to my community that has supported and encouraged me and my family for the past 35 years. I have the knowledge and experience to do this job well. I'm a hard worker, I'm a small business owner, and as you can see in my professional and volunteer experience, being a commissioner and the chairperson of 2 public safety measures, I am the only candidate who wrote a ballot statement. My dedication to serve is honest, genuine, and will be done with a lot of integrity. I can't hear.
Kelsey, you're muted.
Sorry, I unmute myself sometimes so that it doesn't mess with the speaker view on Zoom. So,
No worries.
Okay, next we will go to Jason. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Miguel. I'm a candidate for Newark City Council. I've been a proud resident of Newark for over 21 years, which is my whole life. Currently a 4th-year engineering student at the University of California, Merced, but due to this global pandemic, I'll be safer at home in Newark and studying, so it'll give me more time to campaign for you, the Newark voters. Why I decided to run, first and foremost, we need a change in Newark, new leadership, new ideas. As we enter into a new decade, the 2020s, we have to fight affordable housing, climate change, and racial injustice. So the city council needs to be representative of you, the voters of Newark, and with an at-large district, or at-large election rather, that doesn't represent every single community in Newark. So my first action would be to move for district-based elections because Newark needs to move into the future, and I feel like I'm the best candidate for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go with Tehran. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, it is. The way I introduce myself is I'm Tarzan minus the Z. but I think I'm Taranjeet Singh. I'm running for the City Council for Newark. I've been a Newark resident for almost 10 years now. My son goes to elementary school here. I'm a data scientist by profession, a published poet, and also a grassroots environmentalist at many places. I run a foundation called ALHF-US that is dedicated just to education within communities that are deprived of education in the sense. The reason I chose to run for the city of Newark, primarily for two main reasons. One is the way cities are governed today is the way decision makings are made. They're made in an envelope of people that have influence over. The discussions never come to digital forums, never come. We don't get the long tail where we can debate upon things and make decisions that are important for our now and our future. The city of Newark has decided to aggressively build on our wetlands. So that was my motivation to jump into the fray and do the very best to make sure that our wetlands are our wetlands and they are handed over to our future generation in the pristine form, at least that we can keep. The other big reason, which Jason pointed out, is the city has grown, but the city philosophy of governance is still the same. At large city politics means that people are elected based on their influence rather than where they live. And that's the reason I'm running. I look forward to your vote and support. Thank you, guys.
All right. Raj, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Raj Salwan, and I'm running for re-election to Fremont City Council. I'm running for my love of Fremont. My family has everything I have in my life I got from this city. When we first came to this city, we had nothing. There was 5 of us living in a 1-bedroom apartment with very little resources. So I know what it feels like to be down and to be poor and not to have anything. And Fremont gave me a chance at a good life, gave me good college, good schooling, safe place to play, affordable housing, and overall great experience. And I want to continue to work to make sure that I can give back to my city. During my time on City Council, I have voted on many issues of concern. I have voted to increase the minimum wage. I have supported policies to stabilize rents. I helped move an eviction moratorium on residential and commercial small business owners during this pandemic. We made Fremont a sanctuary city. I supported climate action policies to be carbon neutral by 2045. I made a motion to cap fees on delivery apps, which were harming our small restaurants, our mom and pop restaurants, which are very important. We also voted to go to district elections, which increases democracy. And we expanded to 7 city council. And the thing I'm most proud of is that we are going to have the Homeless Navigation Center opening this Monday. Thank you.
Time. Okay, so an opening question I always like to ask all of the candidates is, what do you think is the greatest strength that your city has? And what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge of the upcoming term? And I'm going to go in reverse order this time, and I'm going to start with Raj.
The biggest strength we have in our community is the diversity of our people. We have folks from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all different genders. And so that is our strength. And we need to continue to celebrate that and to continue to be a city that's welcoming to all and make sure that we have equality for everyone. A biggest challenge we have upcoming is this COVID crisis. This is a double whammy for our community because on the one hand, we're suffering revenue loss, and on the other hand, we're having increased expenditures and damage to the health of our citizens. So I look forward to running for re-election. Hopefully I'm elected, and to continue to work on these issues.
Thank you so much. Taran, go ahead.
Sure. I think the biggest strength for anything, in my opinion, our communities are our strength. And no matter how we look at it, at a city scale, at a family scale, or at a neighborhood scale. And the way we define community is their active participation in the governance of city. And I think the biggest challenge is going to come from the pandemic in terms of how both its economical fallout and the social fallout, but also its fallout on how cities are governed. There has to be a tandem shift in how we think about governance from the physical spectrum to a digital spectrum. And cities that are able to meet that challenge would be able to successfully connect with their communities, figure out the challenges, and be able to solve them. And that, I think, in terms of COVID, there's nothing we could do about how COVID landed in America, but how we make this opportunity to strengthen our communities and use our diversity for the well-being of the city, but also contributing in a way that poverty and economic fallout doesn't become permanent, and that we have a faster recovery out of this, especially for our kids and especially for frontline workers that are going to suffer the most out of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jason, go ahead.
I think the greatest strength the city of Newark has is its small city atmosphere. Everyone knows each other from one area of Newark to the other. So our sense of community and small city environment is a definite strength. And the biggest challenges in the upcoming term, in addition to the COVID pandemic everyone's been mentioning, would be the high cost of living, affordable housing, because that's essential for the Bay Area. People want to live in the Bay Area because of our diversity. And with that much demand, costs are so high and people can't afford that. So we have longtime residents of the Tri-City area, Newark especially, who are moving outside of Newark into the Central Valley and elsewhere for a cheaper cost of living. And that shouldn't be the way cities operate. We shouldn't kick out our longtime residents for those who make more money because they're in tech. So that'll be the biggest challenge, providing more affordable housing and also engaging with our community, especially in Newark. There's not a lot of voters in city council and school board elections. Everything's for presidential elections or gubernatorial ones like elsewhere, but we need to make sure that our community is getting engaged. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Sandy, you can close this question out.
Thank you. Union City is a very diverse community. We pride ourselves on the diversity of this community. The biggest challenge we are facing right now is our budget crisis. And we are in the midst of trying to get a temporary utility tax passed to help facilitate some of the money that we are losing, be it through COVID and lack of sales tax. I was in discussion with Integral, who are the builders and the developers for Union City near the BART station. And my first question was about low-income housing and what are we going to do for our low-income residents? And they were very thoughtful with the response, and that is a concern of theirs as well. Another challenge that I see is the homelessness. We need to get the homelessness issue addressed, get the mobile showers, mobile mental health, mobile debris boxes. We can't turn a blind eye to this problem that exists because so many people need help. And that's one of the first things I'd like to tackle if elected to City Council.
Thank you so much. Since Sandy brought it up, and this is always a big issue in the progressive circles, let's talk about affordable housing and how we get units on the ground and not just in lieu fees or, non-profit, I do like, the nonprofit ones, but I'm talking about permanent affordable units on the ground. And this time we will start with Jason.
Right, so the city of Newark is expanding outwards, but as we enter into the new decade, cities have to, if they're running out of space, they have to expand upwards rather than building outwards. There's no more space in multiple cities, Newark included. So affordable housing will be a challenging issue because there's limited space we can build it on. And as to how the city council can do something, probably work with nonprofits, as you said, but how can we provide permanent affordable housing. It'll be a great challenge, especially in Newark. Where can we, place these affordable housing units? Yeah, and that's a big challenge and big concern Newark has and Newark residents have. So, I will be more than happy to look into other ways. But as of right now, there's literally no space to expand outward. So we can't just build on the next plot of land, and the only available plot is the wetlands. And you don't want to disturb the environment. I don't believe in disturbing the environment. So I'll be voting against anything that builds on the wetlands that we have, the diminishing wetlands that's left in the state of California. So Newark has to expand outward, and whether it's expanding up with the current units we have that are in northern Fremont, then I'll look into it. But as of right now, there's no space to build affordable housing units, so we'll have to adapt and innovate. So we'll have to work with residents and make sure that everyone in the community is involved and ensures that fellow Newark residents have access to this city.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Tehran, we'll go to you next.
So I think housing, if you think about housing from a two perspective, right, is first is how United States or the Bay Area in general has grown in suburbs. It has been a single family house dilemma that we build single family house, that is their footprint on the land is high, the land they occupy is high. So now we've been doing this for at least for the last 30 plus years. Now we're paying the repercussions of that. So I think getting out of that hole has to be a very thoughtful, arduous regional process. How do we create affordability at the ground? It's not going to happen at the twig, right? So the first thing is we have to think about, as Jason mentioned and other people, another, island mentality, if you would have to bring in like how Japanese do it, or how do we have to go vertical, right? As we go up, the cost goes down, but we live in the area of earthquakes. So what does that mean from a future-proofing our investment? So these ideas have to be floated regionally, that the cities, suburbs cannot be this 3-story dilemma that we have put on ourselves. Oh, my view gets spoiled, or my this gets spoiled. So I think we have to educate people to think about housing as a fundamental human right to be able to afford. Now, I think the biggest question that Bay Area is going to face is affordability, in the sense if we take away tech median price, median income out of the Bay, nobody can afford a house here, right? So no matter what you do, you have to build millions of inventory of home to have it, right? So you actually have to figure out how to raise the bar of people, those who make money, those who are able to make money in a way that either they are subsidized for their first house, and that's the only way to get out of. You have to do it both ways. You have to solve the income and also solve the inventory. Thanks.
Thank you. Sandy, go ahead.
As I mentioned prior, in my discussion with the developer, that was my first question about low income. And not only low income, but just affordable housing. We need to attract families to relocate to Union City, to raise their children here and do it in a way that they're already stressed being working moms and dads and childcare and so forth. They can't have the stress of having a high house payment on top of everything else. So my questions to the developer were, what about low income, but what about affordable housing for people to make it a Union City more attractive place to live? What programs are you going to provide in this new development for children to play, be it park? Children need to have some semblance of a place to play, a place to hang out with their friends. And we need to provide that for our citizens so we can attract those families that want to relocate to Union City. As mentioned prior, we are such a diverse community and we're very welcoming of everyone, but we have to make it affordable for those people to live here. And I hate to see these people work in Union City and commute to Tracy or Brentwood because that's the only place they can live. They don't engage in our community when they live outside of the community. So you can't formulate that good bond with your family within the community that you live if you're commuting to Brentwood or Tracy.
Okay, are you good?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and Raj, you can close us out on this question. Wait, real quick though, while Raj is finishing, if anyone in the audience has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. You can send them to me privately or send them to everyone if you have no shame, and we will get to those next. Go ahead, Raj.
Thank you. Affordable housing is a big problem and something that we've been tackling for many, many years. And we need to fix this issue once and for all. This has gotten worse once we lost redevelopment. And the average home in Fremont is about $1 million, which is way too much for young families and for anybody really to move in here. And so we need to make sure we push for affordable housing near public transit, near our transit-oriented development areas. And we need to promote affordability by design. And what that means is these are smaller units that are cheaper for folks to rent out and to live in. We also have zoning power. So as a city, we have police power to make sure that we enforce affordable housing. In Warm Springs, there was a talk to reduce the percentage of affordable housing, and I voted against that. I have voted for 100% of the time to support affordable housing at every opportunity. And so we have to use our power, especially when it comes to general plan changes. There was a project in Ohlone that was rejected before it got to council because it lacked affordable housing. There was another one, Sabercat. We also need to work with our regional partners. We need county funds, we need state funds, we need federal funds, so we can partner together. And we also need to look at building on public land. The cost of land is very expensive, and we need to get that. And the last point I want to say, we need to preserve existing stock, especially apartment buildings that are maybe C, which if developers want to take over and build big units. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. So let me go to the chat. It's just everyone privately messaging me about their membership. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I have plenty of questions. One really hot topic right now is racial justice, policing, the way that we fund and police in our communities and in America as a whole. So give me your stances, not only on your local police departments, but also on where you stand with changing the way that we police and changing the way that we fund policing. And I'm gonna let Taran start with this one.
Yes, good question. I think policing, if you know, it's a, I mean, let's put it in two ways. So first thing is, what is the job of a police? What is an objective of a police officer? Let's get to ground reality. What do they do for our communities? What is expected from them as a community officer, if you were to say, right? So the first goal of a police officer, in my opinion, is just a bold, is they have to have a community engagement plan before they have any law or any other things that, from a law perspective, things come in, right? So most of the police is, the job of a police is not to just make sure that there is law, order, and safety, right? So we have to change the optics of what a police officer needs to do. They need to be on ground, minus the COVID reality, that they need to not be rolling around in patrols and have their weapons out, right? That gives the wrong signal to our kids in a way that from a day one, we see a cop with a gun, and that's the only power they shoot. But the bad has to have a more human power, how they can connect with the individual at the lowest level. What do they need to for the safety and things that matter to us, right? Rather than worrying about petty crimes. That has been the folklore in US, that petty crimes means more crime, which has been proven by data that doesn't happen, right? So they need to think about, from that perspective, what an institution looks like. And that starts with training, right? If an 18 months, so that's training. The funding is the biggest thing. 30% of the budget is police, unacceptable. We have to find better ways to fund police and figure out ways to reduce that with a goal in mind for 10 years.
Thank you so much.
Man, you're short on time for me. Thanks, I need a timer here somehow.
Oh, sorry. I'm giving you guys about 90 seconds, but I'm trying to let everyone finish their thoughts, just so you know. Sandy, why don't you go next?
The police and reallocation of funds is not a simple one size fits all. Every community around the Bay Area, and especially in Union City, We have different needs and different areas that might require more funds. For instance, our COPS unit, our SROs that are on campus at Logan, which is a school of 4,000 people. Those things, unfortunately, have been cut due to budgetary reasons. And for that reason, I would like to see how we can better allocate funds into different areas of the police department to bridge some of those gaps. We have some serious crime issues. We had a double homicide in November in Union City at the school, and we need to work on our youth and family services, and we need to try and bridge all those our different areas, youth and family services. We have different community programs for the youth, and come together and try and help the police. I feel that systemic racism, although that wasn't brought up, is a big issue. We need to make sure that every officer in our community is trained into being sensitive to this to this issue.
Thank you so much. Raj, go ahead.
Well, first, let me say that Black Lives Matter, and we need to make sure that we listen to the community at this time. When I hear people mention defunding the police, what I'm hearing is that people want to change the way policing is done in America right now. And so we need to invest in our people. We need to take care of mental health. We need to help folks who are homeless with social service programs. And we need to reduce police budgets over time. Right now, we have a single response. When people have a problem, they call 911. And what do? We send the police out there. While there's a homeless issue, whether somebody's not wearing a mask, everybody's ready to call the police. So we have to change ourselves, we have to change the culture, and we have to change the police model. In city of Fremont, we have a very stringent hiring process. So in fact, sometimes very stringent, so it's very hard to get people through our process, but we do background checks, we do every single test in the book, and then we do lots of training. So we do have de-escalation training in Fremont, we have bias training. Recently, we adopted the 8 Can't Wait, and we are also banned chokeholds. We have a community process right now where we're trying to take the feedback from everyone to make sure we channel that for meaningful output. And one thing that we do in Fremont that other cities don't do is we help with the homeless. So besides our homeless navigation center, we have a family resource center, which is a $1 million dedication from our general fund. And everybody knows the general fund is a very precious revenue. Thank you.
You were really on a roll, Raj. I gave you 10 extra seconds. I think you know what a big deal that is. Jason, go ahead.
Especially with the young community, racial injustice is a big concern. In my encounters with City of Newark police officers, it's been nothing more than professional, and I support our Newark police. But the first thing we have to do is look at training manuals. How do they see who the suspect is within a lineup? Do they have all pictures of minority members, or do they mix it up and put Caucasian individuals, so that way officers really have to double check and think who's the criminal and who's not, because you can't judge a book by its cover, and we've been seeing that in the news now more than ever. And we just have to look at the training manual. That's the first thing. And if any cops in Newark are, white supremacists, they're doing a good job hiding it, and they should be hiding who they are. They represent Newark first and foremost. If they are white supremacists, then go for it. Just check that at your doorway and your personal home, and don't make Newark pay $500,000 to $1 million settlement to a family who's had a loved one, murdered or injured, paralyzed, you name it. Because at the end of the day, police officers, if they target someone based off the color of their skin and they end up being wrong, that's $500,000 to $1 million, possibly even more. And that's money that could be used for other services, and the city might not even have it if they have to pay that family. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I would sincerely hope no one's allowed to be a secret white supremacist on Newark PD. I'm just going to say I grew up in Newark. I had several unfortunate interactions with both PD and SWAT. That's a different meeting for another time, but I would suggest that's not the best line in your future forums. Okay, so we're getting some questions now. Brian is in the chat, and he's says if he's being a pessimist that there's no effective vaccine for COVID until sometime next year. What is the COVID plan? What do you think your cities can do to help employees and businesses survive? Currently, right now, employee infection rates are highest among people of color. And of course, if anyone was early to the meeting, you heard us chit-chatting a little bit about how businesses are really suffering if they can't afford to stay closed, but they can't really afford to stay open if everyone has low consumer confidence because of the pandemic. So talk a little bit about what your plan would be for the continuing COVID circumstances, and maybe a little bit about post-COVID recovery. And Jason, I'll let you open this one up.
Right. I can't wait for the post-COVID recovery. We need to find a cure now. As you know, the Trump administration waited a good 4 months. We could have had this in the bag earlier, or not. We still don't know if there's a cure. But the post-COVID recovery would be hard, whether or not we have to make businesses pay high taxes now, or whether we should give them a moratorium and let them wait on their taxes to the city. I believe that small businesses are essential to the community, and that's what gives us jobs and gives us a sense of pride in our community. Our small businesses, from O'Sullivan's and All-Star Hamburgers. But we need to make sure that businesses also pay their fair share once this is all done, once they have enough money in the bank, once they have enough to actually give the city. And it has to be an equity term. Equity is a term everybody should know. It's not just equality. Everyone should pay their fair share, but what does it mean for equity? That certain companies have to pay more and others don't. So we have to look into that.
Thank you so much. Raj, you can go next.
Thank you. Well, during this crisis, the biggest issue facing our community is this COVID crisis. It's a crisis on our health, it's on our jobs, and especially the revenues for our city. And so we need to make sure we support our residents as well as our small businesses. And I have to say that it's very important to make sure that we're using data before we open, rather than some sort of political agenda. And so we have to follow what the scientists are saying and to open gradually. When some businesses were trying to open, I was one of the first to say that we have to follow health and safety protocols rather than some predetermined agenda. And I have been consistent throughout that. In City of Fremont, we have dedicated some resources to help people affected by this pandemic. First, we gave $800,000, 400 to small businesses and another 400 to rent relief. It's a drop in the bucket. We need a lot more. So we need more help from the federal and state government to give us more funding for that. We also did an eviction moratorium for residential and commercial small businesses to help them during this time of crisis. Going forward, we'll have to make some tough decisions as far as how do we conduct government with less revenue. And we have so many needs. This COVID has highlighted the vulnerabilities of our current state that we are in. And so we have a lot of work to do, and I look forward to working on those in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Okay, I'm not on mute. Sandy, go ahead.
COVID has definitely affected the way everybody lives and does business. I think we need to address a couple issues here for our community. First of all, the businesses are saddled with a loan that they're going to need to pay back. The eviction moratorium has taken place. but they still are not going to, it's not going to be like a light switch that they're going to resume business and have a full complement of revenue coming in. And for that reason, I'd like to look into different ways that we can help our small businesses and perhaps prolong the loan that they have to pay back so they can get back on their feet. I think we need to have some economic development education provided for these businesses that are going to be reopening. And I also feel that we need to support the landlords as well, because they're taking a hit on this as well, not getting paid, and they still have a mortgage to meet. So it's almost like a domino effect. I have a concern about the social aspect this is taking on our young people who might have forgotten what it's like to go to a restaurant. There's so much to this. It's not another one size fits all. We need to address different areas of this issue.
All right, thank you. And Taran, you can close us out.
Thanks. So I think the biggest thing that is going to be able to settle out of COVID is to look at two things. First is tracing. If we don't have capability to trace where is our infection is and how we are able to do that, there is no way we could open in the interim future. And that starts with testing at scale, and data is going to be the heart of it. If we don't have an app, or if we don't have a way to randomly test folks and figure out an algorithm where we say, okay, this is how a city is going to test or state is going to test, there is no way we would open. This cycle is going to be a vicious cycle. It's never going to go. Considering the other aspect is, I think we have to put safety and well-being foremost and business latter. Because if safety and well-being is there, business would automatically come into picture. They would open. But to help our business in the interim, we have to figure out how we can infuse capital in ways of either loan forgiveness, rent abatement, things that would make the business feel that they are valued in the cities they are, and they can get the longevity to survive through this. And when this is all over, they have a place to come back and be able to resurrect their businesses and live in the community. But if we put business front and safety and well-being later, this is going to be a vicious cycle. And God forbid, it could take, if there is no vaccine, we are in, this is going to be forever. So I think prudently looking at vaccine as plan B, and plan A is safety first. PPV bank, city should have a bank for masks, sanitizer, and other things.
Thank you so much. So this is our last question before your closing statement question. I'm going to give you guys a minute on this one so that you can have a little bit longer for your closing statements. And it is mostly for Union City and Fremont, but Newark people are more than welcome to answer. And it's about the East-West Connector, which is basically come back under it's like the QLP or something. And so it's a transit connector basically that's going to come across like the Sunol area through Fremont and Union City. Our area is in desperate need of transit upgrades, although the progressives would probably argue with you that they are public mass transit upgrades and not necessarily more roads and connectors and Band-Aids. So can you talk a little bit about that project specifically and your overall philosophy on transit and infrastructure in your city? And Taran, I'm going to start with you this time.
Yeah, and I think the East Bay corridor, that is basically, it doesn't hit Newark, so I'm not that familiar with where that is from a planning perspective. Thornton though is 84, but I love driving through Sunol. So I think from an environmental lens, if I have to look this at a scale, I want to see what is the environmental impact of this, right? Is it going to destroy our heritage, whatever is left in terms of Sunol, and going through the Calaveras fault line, what do we need? Right? Do we need a highway that is going to connect and make it a Tracy shortcut? That's what I think in my mind, that people who live in Tracy can do back and forth. So I think the need there is to think through where residents live, especially after post-war. Do we actually need this kind of an infrastructure? Do we need to develop more transit that is at scale, or do we need to figure out another ways? I think all of this is up in air in my opinion. Post-COVID, all the plans that have been done have to be rethought, and especially now. And I think in terms of transit, smarter and less footprint. That's my goal. Bikes, bikes, bikes.
That's the saying, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle, and ride your bicycle. Raj, go ahead.
Well, they might as well call it the west-east connector because most of the traffic is coming from the west and south to north and east. So I do feel that there needs to be some connectors from 680 to 880. Regarding this particular connector, this is a long time coming. And so, you know, we have our mayor here. I don't want to step on any toes, but I think it's a very important part of their plan for their multimodal station. Having said that, there are some current challenges right now as far as the environmental impacts of that area. And I think there's also increasing costs that are arising. So I look forward to learning more about that and working with our partners in Union City to see what's feasible. But definitely we have, these problems are decades in the making. This connector should have been done 20 years ago. We put it off, and now we have more traffic, more congestion. And we're having the same issues in the south part of town where people are getting off of 880, getting on our streets and clogging up our local streets. So we need to keep freeway traffic on the freeways and keep local traffic local. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Jason, go ahead.
So I'm unfamiliar with the project, being that I'm in Newark and not Fremont or Union City, but talking about on a transit point of view, we need more ways of transit because not a lot of people can afford a car. Our working families are struggling and we need to provide more modes of transportation, and on a sustainable note, whether it's a completely carbon neutral bus that runs entirely on natural gas, which is one better alternative to carbon-based fuels, or whether it's run entirely on solar and or wind. We have to look into an environmental standpoint to providing mass transit, and mass transit is important. If people don't want to wait an hour or 2 hours within their commute, they can take the bus or they can take the train, which will save them more time and save them more money. So I totally believe in mass transit and the green scale of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Per usual, I'm always eating dinner in the middle of these. Sandy, go ahead and close this question out.
Great. This 680, 880, this has been in discussion for so many years, as been mentioned prior. And I am not privy to a lot of the information. I'm a brand new candidate. I haven't served on the city council. So I would defer answering the question in totality because I don't have all the information. So I'd rather just say, I really don't know. But the things that concern me are two things: the environmental impact, what this is going to do, and also what is this going to do while it's being constructed? How is this going to affect the traffic that's already horrendous? It takes 40 minutes sometimes just to go down Alvarado Niles. I'd like to see more studies and more information and make sure that the community is involved in this discussion.
Thank you very much. So we're gonna close this portion out. I wanna thank you all for being with us. And before you get to your 2-minute closing statements, I would like to remind all of our candidates that if you would like our endorsement after we vote on it, we do ask that you review our Fund Progressives pledge, which can be found under the About section of our website, fundprogressives.com. And if you take the pledge and we vote to endorse you, it's a done deal. So please feel free. As a campaign manager myself, something I always struggle with is why so many 40 question questionnaires show up like right around Labor Day. and they want really extensive answers. So Fund Progressives decided we're just going to tell you what our values are. Like, this is what we're looking for in our elected officials. And if you take this pledge and say that you're one of us, that we can trust you to like uphold our values, you can get our endorsement. So we figured that was easier and a much better, use of everybody's time. If you don't agree, of course, you don't have to take the pledge. Our number one priority has always been civic education. So we appreciate everyone who takes the time to come speak with us. And at the end of the day, we got to mark a bubble somewhere. So with that being said, I'll give you 2 minutes for closing, but I would like you to spend 30 seconds to a minute telling me what you envision your city to be like in 10 years. And so Raj, we're going to start with you.
Thank you. Well, in 2016, I made some promises to the voters that I was going to work on traffic congestion, especially the cut-through traffic. I'm proud to say that many of the issues that I highlighted were implemented by city staff. And in some corridors, we reduced traffic, cut-through traffic by 50%, sometimes 90%. I was the only one talking about that at that time. People thought I was crazy. They were like, oh no, you can't fix traffic. But I'm so happy that that worked out. I said that I was going to work with our school district. And so we have collaborated at a great pace. I serve on the liaison committee with the school board, and we have swapped land in some cases where they could not build schools. And we have also given funding for a building that they were going to take over. I said that I was going to focus on smart growth, growth near transit, and affordable housing. And I did do those. And I said that I was going to slow the pace of growth. And I have done that. I voted against many different projects that did not fit our city's profile as far as what we're looking for. So there were many general plan amendments at Ohlone, at Sabercat, at Ellsworth. Many of those I voted against. And so I still feel like I have a lot more work to do. There's still a lot more to get stuff done. And so that's very important to me. And I have other plans. I want to make sure that we support our small businesses during this time of COVID and the crisis, support our historic districts, and just try to get stuff done for our community. And I'm a straight shooter. Everything I've ever said, I tried to do. And what I couldn't do, I've told people what is not possible. I'm proud to have endorsement from Congressman Ro Khanna, FUDTA, Fremont Fire, Councilmember Vinnie Bacon, and Councilmember Jenny Casson, all the electeds from Senate, Assembly, and County for our area. And so it's been an honor to serve you. I want to continue to do that for 4 more years. And I welcome to any further questions or feedback since my time's done. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I will not take developer money or corporate interest money in this election. Thank you.
Well, Raj, you know how happy we are to hear that. I'm so sorry. My whole thing froze. Very happy to hear that, Raj. Thank you for sharing. All the candidates can feel free to leave their website, email, and contact information in the chat for all of our members. And then I will also include it with our follow-up newsletter that goes out to everybody. So feel free to drop that in the chat. And Taryn, you can go next. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I think the vision that I have, and that probably is for Newark or any other city, the 3 pillars that I think a city needs to have is efficiency, environment friendly, and welcoming. Right? And a city to be efficient, they need to understand their fiscal responsibility, their community responsibility. They need to understand where the money is put and where the fruit is coming from that money. The cities cannot spend, the way I tell myself is, the goal of city is not to generate operational efficiency, but to generate efficiency for the future. Cities have to smartly spend money on the things that would go in the future. Our city has a habit of raising taxes. We have to figure out a way to break that habit. So that's number 1 priority for me. The other big priority is that environment friendly. When I say our cities have to set a goal of 0 landfill, that should apply for all Tri-City cities by 2020, 2030. In a decade, we should figure out we're not dumping our shit in the landfills. Right? That's one thing that is, all of us in California should adhere to. And the last piece on the environment friendly is that we should figure out what does transit mean from the carbon footprint that we are generating. And housing is also, house is a single unit that generates the most carbon footprint, the number of timber and whatnot. And then the last piece there is welcoming. A city has to be welcoming in the sense that people feel welcome, people want to have their kids live there. Cities are not a moment where you come and work and then live somewhere else. We have to figure out that welcoming attitude. The reason I'm running for this election is because I believe that we as Americans can do this if we come together and figure out where do we put our juice so that we can have a future for our kids and for ourselves too. If we have to live in this nation, in this land, then we have to be able to do all of these things. My goal, I'm running here for the first time. I'm going to not take a dime from anybody who has any corporate money, any developer money, or any other money that they have. I'm going to voice my concern and ask voters to vote based on qualification, merit, not who they are in their current state. Thank you. And I'm going to post my webpage. You're muted, Kelsey.
Yes, I know. It's because I'm eating, and so, anyways. Yes, everyone, please feel free, post your emails and websites. Jason, go ahead.
So you're probably wondering why a 21-year-old is running for city council, whether he's too young. Well, the age to be too young is under 18. The requirement is 18 years old. So it's not a matter of whether I'm young. It's a matter of, am I dedicated? Am I passionate? And I am. I'm dedicated to see Newark into the new decade adapt to many challenges, from affordable housing to environmental change and to racial injustice. And also, we have to adapt into the future from building up. We don't have enough space. How do we expand? And I want to see Newark in 10 years being a diverse city in terms of city staff and city council, and to promote democracy in terms of district-based elections. And on a transit-based, we need to provide more transit-based operations for Newark. AC Transit isn't enough. And also paratransit, it serves our older community, but what about our hardworking professionals who can't even make it to AC Transit line? So we have to address that. We have to promote sustainable energy and promote energy independence in terms of solar. And I can't say whether or not wind power will work in a small city like Newark, but we have to make sure we adapt into the future, provide many different outlets for Newark residents to save money. Saving money is all about working the dream and achieving your dream. And I think Newark needs to do better. And you can do the easy route and vote incumbents. That's the easy way out. I'm not trying to step on toes. You can vote on incumbents, easy way out, no status quo change, same old, same old. Or you can vote for change in Newark. And we've had the same city council for quite a while. And although they've brought Amazon, there could be so much more for the city of Newark and to provide our residents. And we need more young people. And that's where it starts. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sandy, ladies last, because we have to
Thank you. In closing, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself and to the committee to learn more about my platform. I'm not afraid to speak my mind or ask the tough questions that will be needed at the council table, because that's what I want to be. I want to be the voice of the people, the voice of the community. I'm thoughtful, I'm transparent, I'm honest in decision-making processes. I'm a hard worker. I've been mentored by Carol Ducci-Vernacci and Supervisor Richard Valle, who have been so instrumental in helping a first-time candidate get their toes wet. In 10 years, I want Union City to be focused on our community. I want us to stand out as shining stars for all the diversity we make, be it employees or families or the community in itself, holding a lot of public events to showcase our diversity. And I want us to get back to engaging our public and engaging our community, because I think when people's voices, when they feel their voices being heard, that they will feel more engaged in our community. I have a Facebook page, Sandy Holder Grayson for City Council. I'm not accepting any money. This is a grassroots campaign. Basically, I'm self-funded, as this means so much to me that I'd rather do it the hard way than accept any money from public entities.
Thank you so much. All right. You're all more than welcome to stick around. I've put the link to our 12-point pledge in the chat, which you, if you want our endorsement, we require that you take that. And we also encourage all of you again to share your Facebook links, social media links, everything in the chat. I get to go back in there and pull it all out and make sure that my membership gets it. With that being said, we're going to move into the Union City Mayor's Forum with the current mayor, Carol Dutra-Vernacci, and Sarabjit Kaur Chima. I'm very sorry. I am so white, you guys. I'm trying not to butcher everyone's names. So with that being said, I will let you guys have 90 seconds for an opening, and then we will get to some questions, and we will go until about 7:35. So Sarabjit, I will give you underdog advantage. Go ahead.
So my name is Sarabjit Kaur Chima, and I serve on the New Haven Unified School District. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, board for the last 10 years. I am proud of Union City's caring people, good schools, beautiful hills, and excellent transit connections. I am serving on the New Haven board in my third term. I have previously served on the Human Relations Commission for 5 years and on the city's General Plan Advisory Committee. I'm always interested in finding out what is happening in our city hall because we all serve our citizens in one or other way. Union City should not be a pass-through to jobs elsewhere, but a great place to live, work, and play. Like all other immigrants, our family have built our lives from scratch. Union City has helped me and my husband to raise my 3 sons successfully. And my sons have decided to make Union City their homes as well. So when I look at my city, I look from the eyes of my grandsons. Climate change is an existential threat to our children. Half measures are not enough. As a former transportation engineer for 19 years, I have deep insight into the local and regional sustainable transportation infrastructure. Better transportation options are feasible than adding more mega arteries like East-West connector that divide our towns. This pandemic and social justice movement is forcing us now to reflect, reimagine, and reinvent the ways we live our lives, do our businesses, including how do we develop our cities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mayor Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you. 90 seconds isn't enough, but thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I only found out about it last night when Sandy Holder forwarded me an email, so I didn't prepare anything. I am a lifelong Union City resident. I have been involved with city government in Union City since I first became self-employed in 1986 and located my tax business in town. In 1987, I was part of the group that was involved with what was called the 511 area when we were deciding what kind of development should be done west of Union City Boulevard. In 1989, I was part of the original Save the Hills Committee in Union City. We created a ballot measure and the city council created an opposing ballot measure. Their measure won, but that was okay because by then I was appointed to the Planning Commission and I helped write the city's hillside preservation ordinances. So in 1997, our big issue was Pacific State Steel Corporation land and redevelopment. So I decided to run for city council because the city council at the time was giving the pensioners the short end of the stick. I got elected, the majority changed. We took the special master court, got rid of him, and the development that's happening around our BART station today is on, part of it is on that Pacific State Steel site. So I need to be reelected to continue the vision that we have going on in town, and I'll answer that further in the conversation.
All right. Thank you guys so much. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a different question than I did with the city council candidates. because you brought up funding, Mayor Carroll. And one thing I do want to know from your perspectives, where do you need the most help from the state and the county and the other resources, federal, state, all of it, to help build your city better? And if you could have we've talked a lot about development and housing tonight. If you could have a dream project, what would it look like? Those are the two questions I'm going to start you guys out with. You'll both get 2 minutes. Mayor Carroll, you can go first this time.
Okay, to understand the question, you said about funding source and what was it, the dream development.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Well, as far as a funding source for Union City, we'll take the money from wherever they'll give it to us, federal funds, state funds, county funds, it doesn't matter. We need the funds. The dream development, really, that's what we've been working on the last 20 years with our development around the BART station. That has been Union City does not have a downtown. We came together over a weekend to avoid the cities of Dakota and Alvarado to being taken over by the city of Hayward in 1959. So the city was just slapped together in an effort to keep its independence. And the original council really didn't have any vision. Well, I'll take that back. At that point, they decided they were going to be a bedroom community because it was pre-Prop 13 and they figured they were going to survive just fine. Prop 13 hit, the model had to change, but at that point, we were already trying to transform warehouse space. So the dream development really is around our BART station. We're envisioning that to be the downtown. We have slated for development 1,800 units of housing, mixed use retail, 1.2 million square feet of office, open space. It's the multimodal hub. Since 2004, when Regional Measure 2 was passed by the 9 Bay Area County voters, our Union City BART station has been slated to be a stop for Altamont Commuter Express, Capitol Corridor, Dumbarton Rail, as well as currently AC Transit is already there. So we have all of these transportation agencies that will be converging there. And because of our priority development areas, that is what our BART station is. So that is the dream community around that area to do not just, well, we envision, but the voters in 2004 said, this is what we want for that area.
Thank you so much. Sarabjit, you can take it from here. You're muted. It will not unmute. You got to unmute yourself.
I did, but it went somehow. Okay.
Okay, I'll let you go again.
Yeah.
Start over.
So I have a dream. Let's see, for my city. You know, when my sons, they were young, we have a Sikh temple, which we always take Mission Boulevard from my home to go to the Sikh temple. And there were gladiola fields full with the flowers. I still remember that my sons, they would see those flowers, and when they were building the new houses there, they would say, oh my God, we will not have access to these beautiful flowers. So we community, not only me, all that community, we still miss that. Now we have an opportunity to save a Ramirez farm, which is the last agriculture farm in Union City. And it is sitting on the public land, which Caltrans is owning. And I did work for Caltrans for 19 years. And we approached Caltrans, our group, from some of the other concerned citizens from our group. So we made an appointment. I had some insight into my organization. So we had some conversation. They told us if Union City wants, they can transfer the land to the Union City because it's public entity. And then we will be able to save that farm. And then we approached the city as well. But I think, and we have been talking to the Alameda County Transportation Commission, MTC, we gave those letters, we are doing everything we can to save that park. The reason is, over the years, city has been developing not smartly. So we have a lack of 76 acres of parkland in Union City. That impacts our quality of life. So I want to see, have a smart, balanced growth where we have equal open spaces. People, they go on the bikes. People, they can travel being a pedestrian. You know, I don't know how much time I have. This COVID impacted my family. My dad became very, very sick, and he was admitted in Stanford Hospital for 1 month. So I used to go there every day. And when I traveled, there was, some streets closed. And so I would go through the city, and then I will see how people, they are interacting, participating, they're walking on their bikes. And I would dream for that. How come my city is not like that? So my future city, my vision for my city has a balanced growth. People, they can have a downtown or smaller villages, so that people have the smaller communities to interact. And also,
Sarabjit, if I can interrupt you, Kelsey's been trying to get your attention. You ran out of time a long time ago.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Kelsey. I didn't see any signs or anything.
And Kelsey, you were muted.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was kind of trying to flag you down, but I also felt the importance. But I'm going to take some time from your next answer and allot it. I'm going to try and even out the time.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So yes. A lot of the candidates have talked about how COVID is, how it's affecting our communities, and also what our game plan needs to be getting through it. So I'm going to give Sarabjit, you will get a minute, and Mayor Carroll, you will get 90 seconds to address this question. And Sarabjit, you can go first this time.
So what is the question, please?
To address COVID, what do you think we need to keep doing, and what would be your game plan coming out of it, to same as we asked the city council candidates, to keep your communities healthy and your businesses from closing down? Go ahead.
Yeah, so we are in this together, in this pandemic together. I have been following counties and states directions myself, and has been advocating for that. So having our masks on and keeping the social distance, that's the only way we can ride through it. They have not developed any vaccination or any medicine yet, so we have to wait for that. And in the meantime, we as community, we can hold each other up. We can participate. There are other ways to participate, and building the community, talking to them. Even there is a COVID, I do go outside and walking and do have small conversations with my neighbors and my community members and how they are doing. So the way I see it, we need to keep supporting each other. Okay, yeah, I can just stop then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Carroll, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. In terms of COVID response, I am actually one of 40 mayors throughout the United States that was chosen by Bloomberg Harvard Leadership Institute. We mayors that have been chosen are in a 6-month program to work with Harvard for a COVID response in our cities. What Union City is doing as part of this response to help try and keep our businesses afloat, as one example, is this last Friday in Union Landing, we just instituted a mask program. On one of my trips and relationships with the mayor of Guro, South Korea, they sent us 10,000 masks. And with those masks, we instituted for our restaurants at Union Landing this last Friday night, a program to try to get people back into Union Landing in the restaurants, where if people show up and purchase something for either takeout or dine outdoors, they're given masks. At City Hall, in terms of the COVID response, we are very cognizant of the fact that this disease spreads. So anybody that comes to City Hall these days needs to have an appointment. We have limited hours because staff needs to work as away from each other as well. So we do have temperature taking, and our economic development manager is working very closely with the businesses to retain and attract in this rough environment.
Thank you so much. So at this point, I'm going to ask anyone with questions for this forum to throw them into the chat. And one question that we also ask council that I will ask you guys is about the connector, the east-west connector, west-east, as Raj saw one wanted preferred. Your thoughts on that and infrastructure and public transit in your city in general. And I will give both of you, I'm sorry, I will give Mayor Carroll 90 seconds and Sarabjit, you can have a minute. And then from that point forward, we'll call time even, okay?
I thought our time is already properly utilized in the last question. So no,
So,
okay.
yes, you went a minute over because I let you speak
Oh,
for 2
okay.
minutes and 30 seconds
Okay.
on a 90-second answer. So I figured I would split it up 30 and 30. Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, because if you want, I'll give you 90 in her 2 minutes. I don't really mind.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Not a problem, but Mayor Carroll is going to go first on this question.
Okay, thank you so much. It takes more than 90 seconds to talk about the east-west connector. The east-west connector, by definition, is Mission Boulevard in Union City, going across to Paseo Padre and Fremont, Paseo Padre to Dakota Road out to 880. In 2006, the Union City Council and Fremont City Council entered into memorandum of understanding on that project. And in that project was that what's called the Patterson Ranch, the Ramirez property. The information my challenger gave you is entirely incorrect on that property. We have entered into agreement with the city of Fremont. That property needs to be sold because Fremont is the first recipient of the funds from the sale of that property to be used for housing. As part of the development there, we will be incorporating the historic farmhouse in some capacity. But the funding is to go to the city of Fremont to help pay for their Route 262 interchange, and Union City is the last recipient of money. There's a couple of others ahead of us, and that is designed for housing. Sticking with that roadway, we do now call it Quarry Lakes Parkway, and it is instrumental as part of our Station District Plan because you heard me talk about all the development a little while ago. Without that 2-lane roadway, it is not a freeway. It's a 2-lane roadway designed for local traffic. And I'll stop there because there's so much more I could say, but I'm out of time.
All right. Sarah, you go ahead.
So I am against that east-west connector. It has been going in the plans since 1959. Community were able to change the course when there was another connector, you can call it, or freeway, parallel to Mission Boulevard in Hayward downtown side. And that was connected to the 580. After I think 50 or 60 years, Caltrans did that project away. They were done. It was stopped because community did not want to have it. So we have a chance here in Union City. I don't understand what is our motivation then. We are not getting money from the sale of that property. Why we cannot keep it as a farming land? Because we are deficit of the parkland. So I don't understand what is, Union City is not benefiting from this project at all. It's just a pass-through road for Union City. So it's not good for us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So the last question I will ask, same went to the city council members. Right now we are at quite the inflection moment in history when it comes to racial justice and changing the way that we police and that we fund the police in our cities. So can you speak to the platform that you have regarding racial justice and changes to policing? And Sarabjit, you can go first this time.
Thank you. Black lives does matter. So I was just looking at, I was researching about that, how much money our our city spends on the police department. I was surprised to know that our city spends 62% of the general fund. If you compare Newark and Fremont, they are like almost 1/3 of the general fund. That tells me what is happening in our city, why we have a structural deficit. So we need to address that. I'm all for that. So I know there are lives and our police department is doing a good job, but then we need to find a smart balance. Everything is about the balance. So it is time that we invest more funding or our money invest into the communities who got impacted by this social injustice.
Thank you so much. Mayor Carroll, you can take it from here.
Yes, the murder of George Floyd put a spotlight on all this, as we all know. Racial justice is very important because there are the inequities. I am fully supportive of looking at our system, the systemic racism that exists, and addressing it. That's never been an issue. Union City is a very inclusive city, and we need to make sure everybody feels welcome here. As far as policing and our budget goes, Union City, and by the way, I do realize and I do agree that we do need to have police officers quit being the one size fits all, because they're not. Mental health needs to be portioned off as well as some of the other functions. But the reality of our policing budget is, don't look at the percent. Union City has dollars, and in our police department, we've gotten, because we don't have the money, we've gotten rid of our school resource officers. We've gotten rid of the cops unit. We've gotten rid of the gang drug prevention unit. We've gotten rid of so many things. We don't even have full officers patrolling the street. And in the early morning hours, there's only 4 officers patrolling the entire city. And we keep having expenses that come up that aren't expected. The murder of our 2 youth back in November took 5,300 man hours, all on overtime, to solve that. So it is an issue, and the good news is our police department is not fighting us on it, if you will. They agree that there's positive change that can come out of this as well, and willing to work towards it.
Thank you, guys. That is wonderful. So to address one last question before we get to our closing statements in the chat. So the question is for what more can be done environmentally? And specifically, there's a question about, city buildings or parking lots where perhaps solar could be installed. As a little background to, using the East Bay Community Energy put together a report on how we can get maximal use of renewable energy, solar, wind, and all of that. So if you guys want to talk a little bit about your city's current plan on the environment and becoming carbon neutral, and also what more could be done, and you'll both get 90 seconds. And Mayor Carroll, we'll start with you.
Okay, I was Union City's rep on East Bay Community Energy for a while before I realized that was too much for me to handle with everything else. However, that being said, the city of Union City has already started putting up our solar panels. Our sports center has them now. The senior center has them now. I'm trying to think, probably in our courtyard as well, but we are converting to solar as much as we possibly can. And we can't just take some of the parking lots, like the city-owned parking lots around the BART station, and do that, because those are all slated for development, as I mentioned, between housing and office. So we do have an element in our general plan that does address the environment and climate change as well, because as part of our process, every single project, as you know, we have to go through CEQA and make sure that we address all of those issues, because all of this is very, very important. If we don't get it right now, our future generations they're just out of luck.
All right. Thank you so much. And Sarabjit, go ahead.
So like I have said before, 62% of the general budget going to the police department. It shows our priorities. Any budget is a statement of our values and priorities. That leaves a little budget for everything else to do in the city. So about this, being specific about the solar project, yeah, I'm on the school board, and we have installed, and only 2 schools are left behind. They're still working on it. So we initiated to have solars installed on all of our buildings, and we have installed the electric car chargers. I have recommended that. So we need to do more in this direction. I agree. I am pro-environmental myself. Thank you.
Thanks. Since you both answered that so quickly, I'm going to do one quick lightning round before letting you have your 2-minute closings, where you can also discuss the vision for where you'd like to see your city in 10 years. But my quick lightning round question is, are you accepting any money from developers, corporations, lobbyists? And would you be willing to return that money or donate its amount to charity if it meant getting the endorsement of our club? And Sarahjit, I'll start with you.
This is my 4th. I have run many elections. I have never received any money from the developers or the PACs. So I am the clean money candidate in this election, and I hope I get your endorsement.
Thank you. Mayor Carroll?
Okay, the reality is in November of 2019, I did accept $500 from Woodstock Development. They are the company that the city entered into an agreement with a few years ago to go out and do the marketing on our 1.2 million square feet of office space. So I did accept that. Would I return it or what have you? The reality is it's expensive to run a campaign. I'm into my last election. I spent about $60,000 for Union City. This one got a budget of about $34,000. So the reality is, if anything is left at the end of the campaign, it will get donated because this is the this is the last time that I can run for office because of term limits. So anything that's left at the end of the campaign is going to go to a charity.
All right, thank you so much. And so I will give you both 2 minutes for your closing, and in closing statements, I always like to hear what your vision is for how your city will look in 10 years. And Mayor Carroll, you can start.
Okay, here's the deal. Over the next 10 years, housing is big. We didn't talk about that, but every city by law is mandated through the housing element, RHNA, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And California is forcing more and more houses into our cities. It's a mandate. We don't have a choice. So because I am a Metropolitan Transportation Commissioner, I am also a member of the newly formed what are we calling it? It's the housing entity, because the state has now mandated that entity to try and come up with additional funding for housing. In Union City, over the next 10 years, we are going to continue to work for housing. We have a project that's 81 units of 100% affordable. And even though we're saying we want it and I want it, it's still an issue of not in my backyard. The neighbors around it complain. We don't want it. However, the state is saying we're going to do it. So over the next 10 years, as we can figure out how to pencil out a project, because building costs are very expensive, that's going to be happening in Union City. Around the Station District, as I mentioned, all of the development there is going to be happening. And as far as the open space and what have you goes over the next 10 years, as we talk about it over on the Bay side for projects there, I have had to say to those folks, as the developments are coming in, we need the walking paths, the bicycle paths, and what have you. And back to the Quarry Lakes Parkway, that roadway that we want to get built, that is not just a roadway, it's multimodal in the sense that we're going to have the class 4 bicycle lanes fully divided for the bicycles. We're going to have the walking paths on it. And the reason that's so important is through the Alameda County Transportation Commission, we're going to have bus rapid transit on Mission Boulevard and Dakota Road. So I'll go ahead and stop. I'm down to like 3 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Carroll. Sarahjit, go ahead and close this out.
Thank you, Kelsey, and everybody else who is participating, donating, contributing your time to make our democracy work. Mayor Dutra have mentioned about the housing, how we ended up there. Our city has been receiving in lieu fees for years instead of having affordable homes built. So enough is enough. That is my reason to run for this election. I thought if we give Mayor Carol Dutra another 4 years, our city's vision will change forever. So I know it's hard to run against the establishment with COVID, with no money. This was my last minute decision to accept the nomination from my fellow concerned citizens. So I stepped up. but we need to be very, very mindful that what is going on around us right now. So another thing is there is a major WW on the ballot. I don't mind paying tax. We have supported tax for many, many years. But right now, during the COVID, is not the right time to bring a ballot on the measure for the tax. Especially in the last two elections, citizens have spoken. They have defeated the tax measures in this parcel tax this March and in November of 2018, which was the real estate transfer tax. I would have done, we did have the audit in the city from there was a management, organizational management company. They did the audit and they gave us 89 points to improve our budget and how we can save money, how we can provide better services. I'm not going to bring all of them. How we have ancient technology. We have ancient technology in our city. So I would have tackled those recommendations from that audit firm before I would have asked the citizens. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Both of you are invited to take our pledge and to share all of your campaign information, website, social media, contribution links into the chat for everyone. And please feel free. And with that being said, because I do want to wrap up right at 8 so we can get to our post meeting before everyone falls asleep, I'm going to move on to the Fremont mayor. And so we have 3 candidates here. We do have incumbent Lily May, we have Justin Shaw with us, and we also have Naz, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I already forgot your last name, Naz Khan with us. So I am going to let Naz start with her 90-second opening. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then my name is Naz Khan, and I'm running for a mayor of Fremont. COVID-19 and jobless, and also Black Lives Matter have changed the quality of life in our society, in our families, and everywhere. I know how difficult it is to maintain a family in Fremont, and I know what this city means to many of the families. I have been a mother of a son, and I am a mother of a son who is in Air Force. And I've been in the city for many years. This is my home. I would love to provide all the services to the people that I have been providing to my families, to my friends all this time and in the community. And my son went to Fremont Unified School District, and he's a proud airman now. So I have been working 9-to-5 job, supporting my families, my parents, and it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of struggles. So this is the time when I've decided that just because I have been with the community as a leader in the cultural society with Fiji American National Association, as well as I have supported the young generation for education as seniors as well. My mom actually at this age 65, she went to school to make sure that she supports, take care of the families. So I would like to support the city as well as the families and people that I love. And I want to be the people's person because I have always been supporting the homeless and the needies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Justin Shaw, you can go next.
Thank you everyone for your time. It's nice seeing you all. I've been to a lot of fun progressive meetings in the past, and I feel very right at home here. I remember one of my first encounters in local politics was actually at a fun progressive meeting, and it was a very nice experience. I guess I'll say my name is Justin Shaw. I'm running for Fremont mayor. I grew up here, went to FUSD schools, went to college, law school, came back, and currently I'm a VP at a global IT company headquartered down in Warm Springs. I also teach at Ohlone College. I am an adjunct professor there of business law. I've taught hundreds of students, and I also serve on the Ohlone College Foundation Board. I'm also chair of a 501c3 nonprofit called Asian American Millennials for American Advancement. I serve alongside other millennial leaders like, Aziz Iqbari, Lance Kwan, and yeah, a lot of cool people. And I do want to make this point. I am a proud lifelong Democrat. I did not just recently join the party. I am also an Assembly District Delegate. I serve on the executive board of the South Alameda County Young Dems, and I try to go to a lot of clubs, and participate there. And I am a Democrat because I genuinely believe in our party platform, and yeah, not because I want to further any personal political ambition. So I'm an openly gay. Oh, sorry, is that 5 seconds left? 4? Okay. So hoping to earn your support this afternoon or evening. Thank you.
I just do want to remind everyone, while we are progressives, we are a nonpartisan club. We have consistently voted to stay nonpartisan so that we can give an equal opportunity to all candidates. Many members of our club are angry former Democrats. So we appreciate you supporting our platform. The DNC didn't do a great job with it this year though, my friend. But that's another
Former
meeting.
Bernie organizer here. Absolutely.
That's what's up. Yeah. Okay. Lily, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here this evening, and I am happy to see all of you. And I have to thank all of you as one of the founding members. I'm proud to have had your endorsement, and that was very helpful for me in terms of breaking the barrier to become our city's first female and non-white mayor in our city's history. I'm also proud to have been able to serve our community. Much like many of you, I got involved because of passion related to something personal, and I served 2 terms. I was elected twice to school board, and then as city council, and now here as mayor. I hope to be able to continue to be able to serve, because I think that right now in this critical time period when there's so many changes that are occurring and related impacts from COVID, there's just much work to be done. And much like so many others, I think that there's a lot of areas that I think we can bring a lot to the table on, and that are key to your platforms, whether it's the human rights in terms of equity and transportation and healthcare accessibility. And those are some of the things I hope to be able to share with you later today. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Okay. So the first question I opened up with the last mayor, this is a personal question I've been really geeking out on lately. Discuss some of the challenges that you see for our city when it comes to accessing money from the state, from the county, from the feds. And also, if money grew on trees, specifically down Maori Boulevard, what would your dream development look like? Lily, I'm going to let you go first with this question. And you have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So one of the challenges we have is that while we have some funding that comes from taxes, a lot of it also requires us to be representing and serving, whether it's on transportation or on other competing opportunities from the state. And even when we pass state measures, people don't realize that whether it's health care or transportation, we have to then compete at the committees to talk about projects. So what we're trying to do is to ensure that we are shovel ready or prepared for these opportunities. And part of it is having projects that are well designed, that are well thought out, and able to compete. If I had a dream project, I think one of the things that when we talk about housing and development and security that we're seeing, one of the great projects that I'm excited to be able to launch this week is our Housing Navigation Center. And its ability for us to ensure that people are getting the services that they need and are getting connected. The other thing is that I'm very proud to say that in our city's history, we are building record number of low-income housing in our city's history. And that is something that's important. Now for the next sweet spot, I think that's critical when we talk about residential housing needs assessment, is about moderate housing and workforce housing. And that requires us to look at legislative policies as well as partnerships with the county and others to see how can we address that really important critical issue. Because it's just not enough for us to talk about building it. It's important for us to be able to get the funding that's required for us to move forward and to ensure that they have the accessibility to it.
Are you good?
I think so. If you're out of time, I can't tell.
Yeah,
I figured you'd let me know.
But I love it when people finish early. It just means more questions.
Thank you.
Oz, you can go ahead and you get 90 seconds for this question as well.
Can you please repeat the question?
Absolutely. So can you talk about some of the challenges that you feel Fremont faces in getting funds from the federal, state, and county level? And also, if money grew on trees down Maori Avenue, what would your dream development look like?
So I'm sure it's the money that's just because the way that right now the budget has been distributed, it could tell that how much it's being dispersed into different categories. So that shows that how much goes into the public service and the human services, and how much goes to parks and recreational. So that's where it becomes a challenging part, where why we see that there are some underdevelopment areas and maintenance are poor. However, if we do get more money, I would be very delighted to be able to get smart communities, smart cities, to have better work-life balance for families, to be able to work and live in the city and be able to have a quality time with their families and children as well. So the developments of the seniors, because they really mean a lot to us, because right now the seniors are not being catered for. The housing for seniors has not been really looked into. So because there is not sufficient care facility around here for seniors as well, so they live out of the city. So we want to make sure that we have our seniors together with the grandchildren and be able to also take care of these affordable housing for all the low-income families, because there are still families struggling and moving out of the city, although there's a buildings being done, but there's irresponsible developments. So we want to look into accountability of that. As a matter of fact, that it doesn't take that long, 4 or 5 years, to be able to have a homeless shelter made. So this could have been earlier, and now it's getting done. So that is a question. And we want to make sure that it's being addressed at the early age. Thank you very much.
Justin, go ahead.
Sure. I think what I'll say is that there are many ways to make our budget more efficient. There's also the big elephant in the room about pensions. I think that, our mayor has been on city council for 6 years. I'm curious as to why, she's talking about affordable housing or development, but there was this project actually on Stevenson, an affordable development project. She's talking about the missing middle, and all of this other stuff, but she voted against it. She voted against a lot of good developments, and she has not had taken the step to actually upzone near Warm Springs BART or Fremont BART station. And I think that that's kind of the fallacy that we have here. If we are true progressives, yes, I agree, we should not be building market rate housing. That's a big reason why, what I've been all about. But we also need to be proactive in making sure that our residents can be able to afford to live here if that's what they want to do. Same thing goes for unhoused. I think that our unhoused, community members need better support, and we need to be supportive of them. I just feel like, we need to get more funding specifically for that as well, because we also, and in order to not even just get the funding, but actually to make the HNCs happen, we need to take a stand on things. We can't just, vote to okay, yes, we approve it, but then say nothing on city council without making a big statement about it. In general, I hope that we tackle some more progressive questions as well that I know that a lot of us care about. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. So the other questions that we've been asking and that we asked in the mayor's forum as well, obviously really hot topic right now is policing and how we're funding our police and what our community policing is doing. So talk a little bit about your, people are now suddenly joining. They must have heard the Fremont Mayor's Forum is on. So talk a little bit about policing in your city and steps that can be taken to reevaluate how we perform and fund policing. And I'm going to let Naz go first.
Thank you very much. Police is a very essential part of our city, and of course in the lives of everyone. So they are high risk employees. And they definitely need to be, wherever they are, to be taken care of. I support that, because it could be just one officer or someone has not been able to do the due diligence and follow through what they needed to do. But that doesn't mean that everybody is going to fall through that. So it's better, accountability is required, is needed to make sure that they serve justice fairly to everybody. They are there for the law and order to make sure that the public is safe. But that has to be done at the very early stage, at the early time. So when there's a small crime happens, so make sure that it is being taken care of into. There are sworn officers and there are not sworn officers. So how you're going to apply those talents and be able to make sure that they are being used to utilize the services and resources at the right place. And so I think it's the most important for them to be accountable, to be more justified, to be aware of the homeless and mental health and the right investment that we are putting into. So that doesn't mean that, you know, the homeless person is there and we call them thinking that they are committing a crime. I mean, being a homeless is not a crime. So making sure that we understand their services, and when they are getting funded, if there are 20 police officers, we understand how that is being, the budget is being allocated into their retirement, because they retired at the age of 55. So make sure that we understand what it takes for them to be a police officer. So I support them.
Okay. Justin, you can go next.
Sure. I think that our mayor has not done a very good job with the whole protests and also with the funding issue, and also just with community outreach in general. A big reason why I ran was my personal disappointment with the way the local demonstrations were treated by our mayor. A bit of background for everyone, I'm sure we all know, our mayor refused to kneel during one of the demonstrations, and that made headlines across Silicon Valley. I understand that she later, asked her friend, who's a Republican Trump supporter, to then do a public prayer, saying that she only kneels for God. But I want to actually point to one of the other demonstrations in between those two events. There was a second demonstration where, our mayor was on the sidelines trying to go up the stage to really just, in a sense, take up space that, a lot of Black women were speaking, Pamela Price, Desiree Campbell. And actually to my left was the mayor's husband. His hand was like this with his smartphone, and he was just there for literally 20 minutes, just waiting for our mayor to go up on the stage to, in a sense, try to clear her name, make it about her. And in general, a lot of people felt like the response, the Fremont police kind of forums after the budget hearing was, had, after we decided to unanimously pass the budget, was really just performative. And I think we need to focus on actual community engagement so that we can all grow as a community. We want public safety for everyone. Thank you.
All right. Lily, you can close this question out.
Sure. I think it is very important, and I think that Black lives do matter. And that for the demonstrations, I was pleased to be able to join my community and walk alongside in 7 of the 11 demonstrations. I also think that it's important for us to be able to have these conversations and create policies that address the concerns that are being discussed. I'm proud to be part of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, where they published the policing report that came out a week and a half ago, and that was a follow-on to the Obama findings that came out in 2015. And I did take the Obama pledge, as well as for our city to be responsive on the 8 Can't Wait and to create an infographics on that. And that came out within about a week and a half of that conversation to allow people to clarify what our stance is. But it didn't stop there, because it's not about being one and done. It's about an ongoing community conversation, because this is something that deserves us to address it in terms of the systematic racism that's been happening throughout the country for many years. I'm proud to see that in your pledge, as one of your 12 points, is the dignity of human rights, and that includes religious discrimination. So every person, be it Colin Kaepernick or others, have the right to express their support in their own methodology, and my choice was the prayer. I also am involved right now, besides the Engage Fremont, we had 2 town halls. I participated in the 6 town hall community meetings, and I was attended in 3 of them. On another note, real quickly, I participated in Alameda County discussion about this policing, as well as gang task force and ongoing discussions with the SROs and the school district and city. Thank you.
All right. So I'm getting my private message blown up. The other question that I've asked pretty much all the candidates, so we're going to get to now. COVID. A lot of our businesses are suffering here in Fremont. I mean, I cried myself to sleep when I knew Cloverleaf Bowl wasn't coming back, and I'm sure everybody else in Fremont did too. So can we talk about what we've done during COVID in Fremont and what the plan is moving forward and coming out of it? And Justin, I'm going to let you go first with this question. And also for this question, you guys get 2 minutes. Go ahead, Justin.
So for COVID-19, I think there's a lot that we can continue to do. It's not an easy topic, and I commend our city for trying to grapple with this tough issue that really has taken a lot of governments, a lot of city, local governments by surprise for everyone. It's a challenging issue. I think that our response was pretty solid for the first 2 months or so, but it has since tapered off, and we are not, doing as well as we used to. I have a lot of ideas in terms of what we should be doing. You know, we have, I think in general, we need to have more transparent government. We need to have better processes because this all we need to leverage new technologies to make sure we have an accessible data information pipeline so all the information gets to our residents. For example, you know, we have positive COVID-19 test rates by zip code, but most residents don't know how to access that. If we had a data pipeline, people would know and be able to actively go about their lives in a more informed way. And, you know, having more push notifications and data visualizations and allowing residents to understand like concepts like contact tracing, it's very important. And, you know, I would also be in favor of having, you know, ordinances. For example, if our Costco, an employee tested positive for coronavirus, then we would require them to do a deep clean so that this way we can also boost consumer confidence in our local businesses. I know that when there were some positive tests in Sunnyvale at the Costco, a lot of residents just avoided the Costco for like weeks. But in this way, if we have that kind of ordinance in Fremont, we can basically have a safer, you know, environment and people have more confidence in shopping. And, you know, these are the types of ideas that we need to start implementing. And I think, you know, we have a lot to improve on. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Lily, you can go next.
Great, thank you so much. I think this is where I've been spending most of my time right now at this period. And it's been something that I think many cities were not anticipating at that time, but it's important for us to communicate this to our public. And that's why we're very proud to have a city website that details that. When it comes to the data transparency and also information access, it's critical. And that's why I was proud to be able to help strengthen our data dashboard. It is a decision by the governor to have that currently under the Alameda County Public Health Department. But I see Mayor Carroll and we have weekly calls. And it's something that's been very important for our district because we have constant communications and we were able to see the number of beds that are available, the number of testing, the number of areas that it needs to focus on. And part of it is a challenge that something that the county public health has not worked on in the past. We are very proud, and here in Fremont, that we were able to stand up the second testing center. And I personally went to visit the one in Hayward as well as the one here through the periods of when we started testing to anyone, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of their residency, as long as they were symptomatic. We tested every person. And that was something we did for 1 month. Then we moved to make sure that our communities that are at risk, the homeless, whether it's having sanitation centers and having the testing accessibility, I personally went out to test with them. And then finally, when it comes to PPE and accessibility, it's not just talking about delivering it or needing it. We have delivered over 100,000 face masks, over 15,000 face coverings. And I personally wrote to the mayors who mask. And instead of getting a small amount, we were able to get 15,000 quantities. I have also participated in the food bank and making sure that we have services, whether it's so far to date, we've delivered through Alameda County Public Food Bank or through the Second Harvest Bank, Tri-City Health. And we've also delivered over 10,000 food boxes, fresh produce. We have also, as a deliberate decision, when the community block development grants delivered 400,000 in small business grants to ensure that businesses can operate and 400,000 rental assistance to ensure that people do not get unhoused. We have also supported our small businesses by doing pop-up patios and also pop-up patios for personal sanitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Naz, you can close us out on this question and you get 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So COVID-19 is definitely a rising topic, not just only for our city, but for the country. I noticed that this country has failed in preparing everybody and sustaining that to make sure that we really don't, to contain that, so that we don't really spread it. So Fremont is number 3, actually 3rd in a county as far as the COVID is concerned. So I've been, as an outsider, looking into that, and I've realized that there has been some areas that can even be better. What I look into is, first of all, that everybody has to be tested regardless of their immigration status, job status, or before even you start your work. So if you get free drive-through testing, and so everyone to be tested. I believe, like, before we even start going back to work, so first of all, the whole city needs to be clean. I see that there's areas and places, there's the homeless, by the library and all the other areas where there's a lot of trash being on around the areas. We need to clean our city. There's like, you know, a lot of filth and a lot of like areas that's like not being looked into, debris and all that. So if we take care of the hygiene in the city, there's a lot of things we can clean up that way. So the whole city needs to be, first of all, like sanitized or cleansed, and all the buildings and all the staff members to be fully tested before you go back to your office. All the kids, all the students, that if we go to school, so schools needs to be tested as well as the children, so that we can take care of the families as well as the children, as well as the medicine, the people working in the essential services. So we want to also make sure that we provide the essential PPE for our nurses and doctors as well. So thank you very much.
Okay. So the other questions, I'm gonna give you guys 2 minutes. I'm gonna put 2 of our other questions in together. So we also talked about with the other candidates, affordable housing and the environment. So my questions were, what can we do to get more affordable housing units actually built on the ground, not just in lieu fees and the other, you know, fun stuff that we deal with when it comes to workforce and affordable housing? And second of all, what have we done right and what can we do more of in becoming carbon neutral in time to save our planet? Justin, I don't think I've started with you yet. Do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
I started the last question, actually.
Okay, not a problem. So then Naz, why don't you open us up with this one? And you get 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So affordable housing is when we want to make sure that the families are able to have houses where they are able to, you know, have a balance, work-life balance. So you can have these buildings can be done all on the public areas, and we can have these housing really, like, it doesn't have to be like a big house for a expense, you know, at a price, but we can make sure that there are smaller communities, the houses that are more smart communities, that have houses that can be 1 bedroom, and then you could still be in a community and afford it. You have to make sure that we have a rent control. These housings can also be for that we want to make sure that we take care of not only the low-income families or struggling families, but want to make sure that we also take care of the seniors, as I mentioned, so they don't move out of their area. I have been a working mother and taking care of my my senior parents, as well as my son, who is now serving Air Force. It's been really difficult for me to be able to stay in a house, to be able to afford my school for my son, and be able to live in a place where it's very expensive. So it's not like I would be able to pay this much to be able to have my own home, but I can, because I am not able to provide that. It's just because how the norms are here, the values that we are not able to get as what we want. So we can do differently is by making sure that we subsidize housing and rental, and make sure that we are equally taking care of everybody. And I'm sorry, we had a next other question?
The environment, carbon neutral.
So make sure that environment is also be taken care. We have like roads are really ready for the type of developments that we are doing. So our roads are not ready for the developments that's going on. So we want to make sure that the roads are able, that we can mow bike lines, so that we can have solar panels and be able to have like emergency vehicles or larger vehicles be able to maneuver and work around. Because some areas, the roads have like a unsafe, like they have potholes and stuff. So you want to make sure we have safe roads as well. Thank you.
Time. Lily, you can go next.
Sure. I think it's very important for us to be able to set inclusionary housing. So that's one of the things that we have worked actively on, whether it's senior housing, and we are very proud to have a senior development of 500 units down in Warm Springs. It's also important for us to set policies such as adopting environmental requirements. Many years ago, or about 3 years, I think 3 years ago now, our council was proactive, and we saw that there was going to be some building changes, and we proactively first asked and required that we have EV charging and also solar ready for the homes. The other thing is, when you look at the combination of housing and also the environment, having transit-oriented development is really critical. Having housing that's near public transportation to ensure that people not only have the affordability, but accessibility to the other services that are critical around it. And also commercial linkage fees. It's something that we're very proud that as a city we took advantage of. When it comes to Other things, I personally have had the pleasure of making sure that we are involved in different types of housing, and some of it like the Habitat for Humanity's homelessness, addressing sweat equity and putting in the time. I'm proud that our council and others, and I've had participation from Women's Leadership Day, and I can literally say I've helped build our city from the ground up. We've dug trenches, we tied rebar, we've encouraged the public to get involved. So it's not just us making this discussion of policy, it's also bringing our planning commission, bringing in the community and understanding how we can work together and working with corporate partners even too, because I think it's important that there's grants that we have to compete for, that we can ensure to make the affordability, and working with our legislators to ensure policies that are being heard. I'm also on the League of California Cities. I sit on the Housing and Economic Development. And while there are needs for housing and for numbers and quotas being set, we can also help shape the policies to ensure that our neighborhood districts are being kept in the characters and the things that we need to preserve that community environment. And so that's what some of the things that we can do as an active advocate in this role as mayor to ensure that our people's voices are being heard.
Thank you so much. Justin, you wanted to close this one? As you wish, my love.
Thank you. I think affordable housing and the environmental conservation concerns around that is really key to our future. As a millennial, I know a lot of my own generation can't afford to live in Fremont. A lot of people are living at home, or they move to the Tri-Valley, or they move out to like Portland or Seattle. You know, Fremont is, you know, over our RENA requirements for market rate housing, but we are drastically under for basically all their income requirements. And I think this requires us to really be proactive and not be afraid to really suggest new solutions, such as upzoning in Warm Springs BART station. And I think this is a very simple change that to my knowledge, you know, our council members have not, our council members have not really went into that. And in terms of affordable housing, we need to look at also other alternative lower construction-based cost housing. This includes, you know, container-based housing, modular pre-built housing, and also being more creative and also taking in a sense, a more firm stance with and telling and being more clear with the developers what kind of development projects we want. We do have, as a city, you know, a minimum of 15% for affordable development. So it's great that we are doing that, but I would challenge us to not just do the bare minimum. I think that it's very critical to also build our traffic infrastructure and our corridors and to make sure we have the green technology accessible for these developments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So I have two quick questions. I'm just going to do a 30-second lightning round with each of you, and then you'll get a 2-minute closing with your vision statement for where our city should be in 10 years. But the two quick lightning, so do you guys, I'm just going to do them both at once and you get 1 minute. How about that? So this is them. First of all, have you ever accepted money from developers, corporations, lobbyists, etc.? And would you return it or donate it to charity if it meant getting our endorsement? And then the second one, which was sent to me privately by a VIP guest, do you support California's legalization of marijuana, and would you be willing to let a marijuana dispensary open in our city? I'm going to let Justin start on this one.
Thank you. So the first part of that question was
money.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, no, I'm a 100% grassroots people-powered campaign. I don't accept money from developers, from corporations, from special interest groups. That is very clear. For marijuana, you know, I was attacked, you know, in the past for allegedly saying that I support marijuana, you know, in Fremont. That is not something I said. That being said, I will say that I'm all about creative solutions and I'm open to anything. And also, specifically, however, that includes if the community doesn't want to have marijuana shops in Fremont, then that's fine. I'll listen to everyone, and I want that to be clear to everyone. But you know, I also think that we need to have community conversations really about what is and is not data and what is or is not, you know, good policy. And for me, you know, I want it to be known that marijuana is actually legal in Fremont. I know a lot of residents may not know this, but, you know, I'm all for medical marijuana. And, you know, I think that we need to explore all avenues in terms of making our city better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Naz, go ahead. Naz, are you with us? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Okay, start over. Go ahead. So money and marijuana, the double.
No, I've never used any money from any corporate or corporations or any parties. I've been always been funded by friends and families, and I don't have any capitalism type of relationship. As for marijuana, I would say no for the otherwise, but I would definitely speak to the residents equally. They're equal part of this community. Medical marijuana is okay, as I would agree and support that, but I would not support otherwise if it brings crime or something to cause children, families unsafe. So I believe that it is something to be discussed with the entire community, to feel how they feel about this marijuana bringing into Fremont.
All right, thank you so much. And Lily, you get to close out this question.
Sure. So I'm standing here for my 5th election, and I'm proud to say that I have not sought these funds. And I've run many times against candidates who have taken funds in these sources. When I became the first woman to run, as I mentioned, and win as the mayor. My personal take is I will not take any money from military contractors, fossil fuels, or private prison industries, or any other business that's coming before the council for a vote. And I think that's important. And I'm trying to remember the second part of your question.
Marijuana, honey.
Marijuana. And so marijuana is legal by the state, and that it's also important for us to have accessibility for the people to have the delivery of that. And so that's something that our city does allow. When it comes to open a dispensary, I think we'd have to look at and understand the concerns that they have from the community, and before we were able to address that. But I'm open to those types of discussions because I think it's important for us to be able to answer the concerns for our community.
And on that note, I just want everyone to know it's been very hard for me not to smoke while on this call right now. I was like, man, 2 hours. Anyways, with that being said, we're going to close this meeting out. I want to thank all of everybody who stayed on. Normally our meetings are only an hour and a half. We've had two weeks in a row now that were 2 hours plus long because we're all chatty, specifically me. So I thank you all for hanging in there. And again, this will be put up on YouTube. So feel free. And if you would like the recording for your own campaign purposes for videos and whatnot, please let me know. I'm happy to send that to you and make sure that everyone's able to download it. I do that with Vinny's campaign, as all of you know, so I want to make sure to extend the offer. With that being said, also I remind all the candidates to share their social media, website, and donation information into our chat. And Lily, I'm going to let you go first with your 2-minute closing statement.
Sure. It's been my privilege to serve our city for many years in many different capacities, and there's much work still to be done. And especially in this COVID time period, there's a lot of impacts that we have felt as a city, both economically and community health services wise. And that's one of the things that I take great pride in, is that working with my fellow council members, working with my regional members in the community, we recognize how important it is. And I think it's important for us to reimagine, to restore, to revitalize, and to show our resiliency, to be able to come back and to work with this through many agencies, through many colleagues, and to come up with policies that are important for the housing, important to protect the jobs, and important to protect all the wellness for all of our community members, whether it's the housed or unhoused, and for our businesses to be able to thrive. So I thank you for this opportunity today to share with you some of the platform and visions that we believe in and what we hope to be able to continue to do to ensure the wellness, fiscal and physical, of all of you as we move forward. And so thank you for your time and your consideration, and I would ask for your support.
You know it's a pro and they don't even need their whole 2 minutes. She was like, elevator speech, got it. Leaves more room for my jokes. Justin, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, I believe that I am the progressive candidate in the race. I am endorsed by strong progressives like Alex Lee. And, you know, my entire life, I've grown up as a, you know, I am now openly gay, you know, Asian American male. It has not always been easy. And I'm very grateful that I'm supported by a lot of family members. And also, you know, organizations like Fremont Teachers, they've endorsed me, East Bay Stonewall Democratic Club, South Alameda County Young Democrats, the Gay Asian Pacific Alliance. And, you know, a lot of our Democrats, including the Tri-City Democratic Forum. For me, I am very pro in terms of racial equity. You know, that is something I care very deeply about. Our city needs to do better to make sure that public safety exists for all of our residents, including our unhoused and including people who are Black and brown, let's just say it. We need to make sure that we are better on affordable housing. Like, we need to make sure that people who are, you know, rent insecure can afford to stay here. And I will take those progressive positions if elected to mayor. And I think that track records speak for themselves. So I encourage you to do research on all of the candidates in terms of finding out what they really stand on and what you think they stand on. And so, you know, I will just close with saying, I would be very honored to have your support and your endorsement. I campaigned for Bernie Sanders in 2016. That's how I got involved into politics. And, you know, since then, I've continued to support Bernie after Andrew Yang left the campaign. And by the way, I am very pro UBI, Universal Basic Income. That's something I will always say. We really need that for all of our communities. And I think it would be really great, to be quite honest. So yeah, thank you so much. And I would genuinely and greatly appreciate your support and vote. Thank you.
And Naz, as our newest member and our first time speaker, you get the privilege and honor of closing out our meeting with your 2-minute closing, and make sure to include your vision for Fremont in the next 10 years.
Great, thank you very much. So it's been a pleasure being here with every one of you. Yeah, this is my first time, so I might not be able to be perfect as like everybody else to speak the way they are. I'm speaking from my heart to make sure that I reach out to people. I'm not a career politician. I don't have any name or fame, greed. And I'm not really looking to climb up to any of those food channels. I've seen that but I've observed that there had been promises made about developments and about cutting on developments, but then there's like being voted for to have 4,500 developments going on for like regular workers or regular people, but not thinking about this low income, as well as not thinking too much. Accountability has not been there, responsibility, and then you're not being showing the work as was how the community is looking into to make sure that when we are working to make the best interest of the communities, many times we feel that there is a lot of disconnect. So we want to make sure that we are able to show our compassion, not arrogance, you know, when we come into power and position, to make sure that we feel everybody is inclusive, even in the development and the affairs of the city government. The challenges that everybody faces in the life, when there's a Black Lives Matter, we want to make sure we are part of it. We don't want to have anybody feel different. And we want to make sure that when we think about traffic and when we think about families, they want to be together, and we want to make sure that the changes are meaningful and something for everybody to feel that, yeah, we are proud to be part of this, where we feel that the police officer is our brother, the fireman is our friend, and the city officers are also our friend, and we all together we are the families. I want to see that the city is like more smart cities, smart communities. So we have smart schools, we have 5G network, we have a Wi-Fi, we have rapid transport for more frequency, and that we have like those solar energies and stuff, that we can all have a very peaceful, happy, and family life where soldiers return, so they are happy too. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so that concludes our local candidates forum for the city council and mayoral candidates. I'd like to remind all the candidates, put your information in our chat. Many of our members may hit you up with more questions, as I have trained them to be very diligent. So thank you all for joining us. My club, my members, my voting members, a couple people are texting me they did not get their ballot. It did go out directly at 8 p.m. If you didn't get it, let me know that you have a problem. Oh shit, is anyone else frozen? Oh no. I see you laughing, Carol, so I think it's all good. But anyways, if you want to discuss some of the races, I'm going to take about 45 minutes to lead some conversation on discussing our endorsement races. You're more than welcome to stick around. When I discuss your race, I will put you and anybody I feel is super involved with your campaign in the waiting room. Otherwise, you're all free to leave, and thank you so much. And with that being said, I'm going to stop recording.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Be well and be safe.